Okay, well, hey everybody, welcome to Steve Couper's podcast for aspiring real estate investors. In each episode, we connect with seasoned investors and industry subject matter experts who are eager to engage and share their experiences and tips for success when investing in real estate. So today, I'm super excited because for Steve Couper's podcast, I have the profound pleasure of speaking with an award-winning Canadian noted for her philanthropy in the community, for helping women, for helping children achieve success in finances, entrepreneurship, and for global footprint. She's a Stanford University Fellow at the Draper Hills School for Democracy and Democratic Rule. She's the recipient of the 40 Under 40 United Way Leadership Windsor-Essex Award in 2018, the Sovereign Canadian Medal winner in 2015, and the Odyssey Award University of Windsor in 2018. And most recently, she is the 2023 finalist for the 100 Most Inspirational Women Award in Toronto, Canada by the Universal Women's Network. Natasha, there's going on there. I have so many questions for you, but before we start, did I get everything correct? And can you
Think
tell us a
so.
bit more about
Sounds like it.
yeah,
It always, when I hear people say those things, it always sounds like they're talking about someone else because I just see my life as pretty boring.
pretty boring. Well, nothing in that sounds boring. There's got to be a lot going on there. So tell me about your background. How did you get started on your journey in real estate investing?
So actually, Steve, I have to be honest. I came about it on my own, like a bit out of chance and maybe luck. My family, though, have been doing real estate basically since they came to Canada. My grandparents and then my parents. And by the time I came around, it wasn't really something that they were doing actively anymore. It was kind of dwindling away. And then I was doing makeup on a movie set. And there was a gentleman there who was a full time real estate investor and was like living his best life. And he didn't work anymore. And I said, like, I really want to learn more about this, and I have some idea of it from my family, but not to that level.
Right.
And he became my mentor and just showed me the ropes and showed me how to find a property, what to look for, just different tips. And then from there, it just spiraled. It has literally spiraled going on. We just had our 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and I say we because now I have investors and angel investors and so forth. So it's a lot different than what it started out as, but still going forward. And, it's a lot of work. And sometimes you don't think there are any rewards, but actually, when you look at the fine print, there are many benefits.
I find it's a remarkable learning experience, and you talk about inspiring women and children, empowering them to learn their entrepreneurial selves. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so I have done quite a bit of work in my life in volunteering and different activisms for women's financial benefit, especially in real estate. And I give talks quite a bit with different organizations. I've just received a grant from the American Embassy of Kuwait because I was studying there for the last 3 years in regards to women's advancement in business and investing, particularly in real estate investing, which will be one of our focal points, like one of our foci. And I'm a full-time teacher by trade, by vocation. So I'm always talking to my students about being responsible. And I will often run different little groups or workshops where I will talk to them about my own journey and what that could look like, if they start to be financially responsible and have that financial acumen from a young age.
Wow, aren't you a busy person? This is amazing. Where do you
Yeah,
find the time?
I don't know because I told you I think I'm so boring and my life is so boring.
I think it's far from boring. Um, Financial literacy for women. How do you approach financial education for women? I mean, what's traditionally taught to all of us in schools doesn't necessarily correlate to success as you are trying to build wealth. So tell me about your approach.
You know, the one good thing though is that as Canadians, we are lucky because in general, the Canadian mindset is one of a saver. We don't really have a spending mindset per se, and many of our families, we grew up in homes where, saving and being more frugal and more mindful of your spending is something that is kind of Canadian. Even when I work and live abroad, I see that with Canadians. It's something that we have in common. It's just part of the way we're raised. And so that's one avenue. The other one is that, historically, women didn't really have access to their own finances. It was kind of shared in the home, for better or for worse. And I'm not saying that it was a bad thing. I'm just saying for better or for worse. And so now that women are working and they are in higher positions and they're making much more money, the key is not how to make money. Everybody can make money. A toddler could go and ask their parents for $2 for a Mr. Freezy, right? You're making money. The key is digesting that money and using it in avenues where that money has an ROI. So whether you're doing that in real estate, whether you're doing that in, maybe a REIT, like a group fund that's a little bit more safe, whether you're investing in a TFSA, in an RRSP, having an advisor for the stock market, which I can't comment on that I do that. I have an advisor. So I always tell people, if you're really busy, you need an advisor, you need help. Hire people who know what they're doing. And so it's just finding the right avenue to make that money work for you. And even if it's $10 a paycheck that you're saving, 20, 50, we always think it has to be this elaborate amount of money that we have to save. That's not true. You can start with a very small amount and just over time, having it invested properly, you can accrue wealth with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's great, actually, great advice. And I think that, I've got a 15-year-old son, and as I try to teach him about finance and how to invest, his focus is a lot about spending, right? And trying to actually change the mindset over so that it's,
Yeah.
okay, by all means, make sure you look at what you're trying to acquire here, but then let's look at how you can invest to actually earn it, right? Instead
And
of
what's beautiful about the young generation is that they're really savvy with technology and they're really into all the new things that are out. So if they just maximize that to the best potential, they could actually make a lot of money and good money. Because for me, I'm an early adopter of technology, but they're native users. So they know how to maneuver the apps and the platforms and all the new stuff. So it's the same like I tell my students. I understand, you guys have way more access to everything and you see all the new trends and clothing and shoes and styles. Whereas, for me, you just go to the store and see what's at the store, right? You don't have access to like international markets. And so, yes, you want to buy it, put it in the cart, leave it there for a couple weeks. It will still be there. And if in a couple weeks you really want it, then get it. But if that novelty like wears off, just leave it. Look for something cheaper or price match. And that's another piece too, is that because we have all this technology now, we as consumers also need to get really smart and really savvy, such as price matching, checking if you can get it somewhere for a better price, waiting for deals, etc. And that's kind of the same thing in real estate, is watching those trends, waiting, seeing, changing, growing, adapting, and that will help also grow your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great advice. Great advice. What kind of real estate do you invest in? Tell us about your portfolio.
So we have a pretty big portfolio, I would say. We do have some single family homes. We have some duplexes, triplexes. We've just recently gotten into condos in Alberta. So I operate out of three provinces in Canada, which is Ontario, New Brunswick, and Alberta. And in Alberta, we've just started with new build condos. It's going okay. Like it's a big learning curve for me with the whole condominium market. It's going okay. And we do have some storage units as well that we rent out. And we have done some fix and flips. Most properties, though, were the BRRRR method. And as of now, we have 25 doors. I also do boutique management, and I call it boutique management only because, Steve, I can't take on more work. So I have a couple landlords that are out of town. They are Canadian, and they have real estate in my city. And so I manage their properties for them.
Wow.
So we have that too going on. And when I say we, it's because when I started, I was alone. Um, and actually, my business partner, I could say at that time, was my mother because she gave me a loan to get a loan. But now I do have an angel investor who is with me. So there are some properties that are under a corporation, and then I have some properties that are just mine, and then the ones that are part of the business corp with the angel investor.
For the benefit of those listening, can you explain what an angel investor is?
Yeah, so I guess it's more kind of like a businessy term, whereas in real estate we would say like a joint partner, a joint venture partner. So it's somebody who wants to invest their money. In this case, in my case, they did not know how. Working professional, does not have the business or the real estate acumen, and doesn't want to be involved, doesn't care that the window's cracked, the toilet is flooding. So you take my money and we can, get into business together, and send me a spreadsheet every month about what's going on and how it's going and what's my ROI and what have I, what needed to be fixed and what am I spending and how much am I getting. That's the very simple and short way of describing these types of investors. And of course, that could look very differently depending on the arrangement. It's just that in my case, this adult really doesn't want to be involved at all. Also working a very high-end job that's very busy, doesn't want to be involved, has the RSPs, the TFSAs, and just wanted to try something else. We met at an investors conference and basically was like, yeah, if you have a property and you can show me, basically the pro forma that this is going to be what it is, I'm looking to get into business.
Nice, nice. And so as you look to grow, are you trying to find more angel investors? Are you interested in that kind of blossoming the business, or are you just happy with the way it's going?
Steve, I'm always interested in working with others, and you can really grow your business that way. Of course, it has to be a good match because, as you know very well, real estate is not just a straight line and you're not rich. Actually, we're broke. We're cash poor all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's a living, breathing entity. It's not just a box on land. This is a human business. So life happens. Sometimes the whole rent isn't paid. Sometimes they're waiting, to pay the rest of the rent next month. It's a business where you really have to massage circumstances and situations. You have to watch the market. You have to watch the government. You need to see what are politicians saying? What are the changes? So when an investor wants to do business with another investor, I think it needs to be a really good marriage that we have to both be on the same page. Like, this is going to be a long-term investment, or we're going to BRRRR this property. Have you done business before like this? Because sometimes, the jobs you commission go rogue, and that's just a part of it. So as long as we're on the same page, and we're all different, so other people are looking for different things, but as long as we're on the same page, it definitely can work.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a couple of questions here that I haven't thought of yet. So let's pull this up. So um, global footprint. So what do you mean by creating a global footprint? You haven't touched on that yet.
Yeah, so I've worked and I've studied and I've lived in Asia for some parts of my life. And I see that there's also a massive real estate market on the continent of Asia that's very friendly to Westerners and Western investors. So, one thing that I started to familiarize myself with was different countries and what their laws are, and how easy is it to get a mortgage, to invest, to buy property. And so, that is something that I'm very seriously looking at. I did have one opportunity about 2 years ago, because I don't want to say all the time that I'm doing the right thing and I'm making the best choices. I actually, flopped on a deal in Turkey, sadly, that now would have been worth maybe 3 times what I would have paid for it. However, there are a lot of countries that are really friendly to foreign investors. And so that's something that I'm looking at to grow and expand the business. And even if that is, to the United States or, as I said, to Turkey or to the Emirates, I'm really looking at other countries that have laws that coincide with friendliness to investors and to landlords. And what would that look like as a Canadian investing abroad? And so that's something that I've been researching.
That sounds great. So if I think about that, then the political landscape is going to be unique and different all across the globe. So
Yeah.
you have to be familiar with the rules, the regulations, and the politics. But the fundamental principles of real estate investing, they're consistent. Is that right?
Yeah. In it all depends, as you said. I find that sometimes as Canadians, we're very afraid because our banking system is very stable, very safe. So we're very afraid of kind of stepping outside of our comfort zone. But one thing that I've noticed is that there are a lot of countries that have also stable banking systems and stable economies, and they are very happy to welcome investors from abroad, and your investment will be safe. And the thing is, you as an investor need to know your comfort level, and then also doing your homework. Like, of course, you'd have to look at the stability, the political landscape, and so forth. But when we're talking about a country like the Emirates, I mean, there isn't only just Canadian investors. There are investors from all over the world that are buying Airbnbs and camper trailers and all kinds of stuff, for the changing landscape of our world. Young people are going all over now, and especially digital nomads. And so, a lot of people are even doing like Airbnb hacking um, in different parts of the world, which is pretty cool, actually. And they're actually working with the owner of the properties. If they're they have a big profile on social media, they would rent my Airbnb, and then they would be the one who would then find the clients. So there's so many different
Wow.
things that are going on in real estate and in the world of investing. Sometimes it's hard to keep up. However, I just think that it's that investor's comfort level. And I know there some people would never even have, more than just a couple doors, or like my parents are always on my back. Like, why would you invest outside of our city? Why would you buy a house in Alberta? Who's going to live there? How do you know what's going on? So I think it's just the person's comfort level. But if they're willing to just, step outside their comfort zone, even like if you're from like where I'm from Windsor, and you want to invest in Toronto, you always have to do your homework.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so very true. So very true. I remember when I first heard, I met a lady who was living in BC in Vancouver and had bought apartment buildings in New Brunswick that she'd never physically seen, like never been in, and that was such an eye opener for me. But I've since learned it's all about building that team and that network of that supports your business. You're partnering almost together with them as you go. So tell us about your journey in establishing a team, say, in Alberta. How did you go about doing that?
So, as you said, Steve, the team is number one. Without a good team, it's going to be very difficult because you have to trust them that they are doing their best work. Of course, like I've been doing this now for 10 years. So I've been working with people for a long time. I've never cheated them. They've never cheated me. And I always pay what they want on time.
Yeah.
I always pay what they want because I also don't have a lot of time, Steve. I work a full-time job and I do this on the side. So we have to trust each other. And building a team outside, it's kind of like I know this person who knows this person, and this person's credible, and you're credible. So I'm going to introduce you. And so that's how it happens. I met my property manager through my real estate agent, and the real estate agent knows that when I sell that house, he's going to be the one who sells it. So it's
This is
almost like a mutually beneficial relationship.
I'm terribly sorry, Natasha. My dog wants to say hello. You
Oh,
gonna
that's
say hello?
okay. The puppy wants to. That's okay. I love puppies. Have the puppy around.
Yeah. Okay, you can go
They
down.
want to be a part of it too, you know? So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So basically, I know them through my network and they know me. And so we want to do business with each other. Now, with that being said, I have had to fire people when the job is not done. And I also have strategies to find out. Even though I have property managers, I will directly call my tenant and be like, hello, my name is Natasha Feghali. I own the home you're living in. Please, I'm going to send you a screenshot of who I am and that I own this property. Can you tell me if A, B, and C were done? Because if they weren't, I need to know immediately. And tenants are very good about letting you know that nothing's been fixed or incomplete or something was broken. So far, I can say that I've had a good go at it. And I will also call the property manager and ask them to send me pictures that, you know, and they do that anyway. That's part of their job. And so it's that trust-based relationship and mutually beneficial relationship. And then I bring them business too. You know, I have other investors that are looking, I bring them business as well. So I find that people want to do good work.
I think that's actually really insightful. I hadn't considered the idea of contacting the tenants directly, but I think it's wise. You need to have your means of, trust is one thing, but evidence is all the more important. Yeah,
I
because like
will
you say,
always
right?
call my tenants.
Yeah, those tenants, they're your customers, right? They're the ones we need to
They're our
actually
clients.
we need for our business, right?
We need them, Steve. It's like any other business. They're our clients. Like if I wouldn't live in that, then why would you? Well, I would not want somebody to live like that, you know, and they need to know. And I know a lot of landlords would not do this, but I will call them. If I feel that I've paid you now $2,000 to whatever fix something and it's not, it's something is not right, I will directly call the tenant and ask them because it's their safety, their livelihood,
Mhm.
and my business.
Absolutely. And it's all about our credibility through the course of this, right?
Yeah. And when
So,
people are not happy with how they're living, what are they going to do? They're going to stop paying rent.
yeah, you're right. You're right. They're going to move somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are we doing, right?
Exactly.
Um, so what have I got here? Mentorship and networking. What role do mentors networking play in your approach? So I guess that thinking about this, you mentioned a mentor that started you on your journey, but have you since involved or engaged with others to learn more and expand your knowledge, or have you been laser focused on one thing? How have you grown?
No, I am I am a bird of all nests. I focus on everything that comes across my eyes.
Okay.
And I have had many investors because I never know what I'm doing because I'm always trying something new.
Mm.
And I've had so many great, wonderful investors across Canada and mentors across Canada that have helped me and taken my phone calls at 5 o'clock in the morning and have helped me. And I am so very, very grateful to them for all of their help. And they guide you in ways that you don't see and you can't see. And they've been there before. They've done this before. And, they've been to the landlord and tenant board 100 times. They've filled out paperwork. They've had to deal with tenants who are very disgruntled. And so they can give you insight in areas that you might not have it. And as your business grows and gets bigger, there's also things that you need to streamline because if not, it's going to be chaotic. So we need other mentors and investors to help us. It's like any other business, like any other profession. You know, um, Even as a teacher, we have senior teachers that we will go to for help. And these people are like teachers for us. And a 10-year investor, I'm sorry to let people know, but that's kind of still in the infancy stage because there's investors out there with 50, 60 years and been passed on from their families. So they really know what they're doing and how to help you maximize and streamline and cut the fat where you don't need it. And so I'm very grateful to those people. And I've
Okay.
also had a lot of very shrewd women investors who have made me grow up.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I think it's so true. There's a saying, our network is our net worth, right? So it's
Yeah,
and what I've noticed in this community of real estate investors is how amazingly supportive everybody is. And
yeah,
so many other businesses that dog eat dog and there's so much competition for things. But in real
yes.
estate investing, everybody's supporting each other. And that seems to be constant for all of the people I've met thus far. There are so many wonderful people in this community, and you know, it's sort of a nice segue into the next question because I like to think about real estate investing in a very positive light, and yet the media doesn't always portray investors that way. They don't necessarily understand us or what motivates us. They just seem to be focused on trying to actually find a scapegoat for what's bothering them at the moment. And maybe it would help if they understood a bit more about who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. And so my question to you is, why are you doing what you're doing? What are your goals? How are you going to know when you've succeeded in your goals? Is there a finish line or is it always moving? And yeah, so what makes you tick? You doing everything. What makes you tick?
Steve, even as a child, I was very curious and very interested in everything and whatever is out there, I want to try it. I like to really live life to the fullest. And one of the reasons I thought I was going to do investing was because I always said if I had children, I would want to kind of be part-time working and then doing my real estate and raising a family. So I'm still waiting for the children part.
Oh.
Everything else has worked out. And so that was one reason. And the other reason was I knew that I loved to live life and I needed other streams of income to help me achieve some goals and other goals. And those goals have always been evolving and changing as I go. And sometimes better than others, sometimes more fruitful than other times. At this point, I'm growing and cultivating a business, and I take a lot of joy and pleasure in it, and it's it's just brings me joy. And I also realized that I kind of really like the the construction part, the renovating part, the decorating. I really kind of like that. And so I never really knew that I had this passion for real estate. And so at this point it's more of a passion than anything. And I don't know when the end will be. I mean, as I said, now we're looking at different international markets, we're looking at the states, and so it's just growing. I mean, lot of hiccups, but I mean, as long as we're growing and we're stable, I'm happy.
Cool. That's wonderful. It's so true. As long as we're growing, it's something that brings joy and pleasure to all of us. I
Yeah.
find I find as I look at the challenges that come and go with different, like you say, the market's moving, the interest rates go up and down, the governments change and things change and rules based and everything,
Hmm.
and all of the ups and downs. Despite all of that, it's still quite a pleasure and an enjoyable experience to be part of. Um,
Yeah.
it's speaking of pleasure, it's been a true pleasure getting to know you better. Um,
It's my pleasure, Steve. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So, if people want to reach you, um,
Hmm.
say somebody's interested in investing, another angel's out there and says, "Hey, who's this Natasha lady? How do I get in touch with her?" What?
Yeah, sure. All of my contact information is at NE Feghali. That's my social media, or they can email me directly from my social media, which is Natasha Feghali at hotmail.com. And I always love meeting new investors and talking to new investors. We might have something to share with each other.
That's wonderful. Once again, a true pleasure. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's my pleasure.